Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cast Track. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing this with your friends. Today's episode is with our friend Marc Boychuk. Marc was born in Regina, Saskatchewan. He has been married for 30 years, and he has 3 amazing children and 1 granddaughter. His wife is a very good artist, taught by some of the best painters in the world. In fact, the artwork behind him is done by his beautiful wife. Marc feels very fortunate to be a father and to have children who love him. So nice. Besides his husband, Marc is very passionate about his job and jumped into a battle to end homelessness. Even through his work full time and running a business on the side, he managed to put in 100 hours per month as a volunteer, trying to solve and end homelessness in his little community. He loves making a difference in someone's life for the better. An amazing human. Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, you, my dear friend, Marc, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's a total pleasure and an honor to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Are you ready for the questions we sent you?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. Why do you do what you do?
Well, I'll tell you that question there. When you sent that to me, I've been restless and wondering about that myself ever since. And I think you owe my company a good couple hours worth of brain power that I've been putting towards thinking this out. But like we said, I work full time. I've been at a pulp mill as well for coming up 31 years next month. And I worked my way up into management. But I just came to a point where I wanted to do more and I wanted to start giving back to my community. So I was very fortunate that I was allowed to kind of step down from management. So that gave me the opportunity to just go to work and come home and not have to worry about work anymore. And so through that, I tried to get involved in different service things that were in town. And strangely enough, the real why comes from 3 women that I've never even talked to in my life. And I'll kind of explain that because I grew up in Vancouver. And fortunately and unfortunately, I spent some time down on the streets downtown. And there's this one time I came to a friend's apartment building and was meeting up with him. And it's just this tiny little thing. And there was this young lady laying on his bed. And I knew it wasn't his girlfriend. I was like, well, who's that? And he just said, oh, I'm just letting somebody crash at my place for a couple hours. But what really struck me was 1 was looking at her and just feeling this total exhaustion from her. And 2, that she offered to sleep with him just to have a place to sleep. Not for food, not for drugs, just a couple hours in the day, somewhere safe. And, I was only, probably 19 at that time. And I could still remember that image vividly. And another time is we were in Red Deer and I'm not sure which restaurant it was, but some girl was sitting out on the curb and she was just bawling her head off and crying and crying. And I was like, geez, I should go talk to her. But I was too shy. I just felt horrible about that. And I sat there and watched her in total despair. I never did a thing. And I'm thinking, from now on, that's it. If I can help, I will. And so that kind of leads me back to when I'm looking for something to do. And I decided to go watch this movie called Us and Them. And it's about homeless people. And it really, really touched me to my heart. And I thought, good thing Peace River doesn't have any homeless people. Or I'd have to do something about it. Well, I guess we found out there's homeless people here. So now I thought, well, I got to do something about it. So it kind of started to investigate and learn what was going on. And I spent 2 nights in January, which tended out to be a chilly 2 days, sleeping out on the streets with our homeless people here and just understanding. And I thought, man, it's a complex issue, but we can do a lot to solve this if we just all pitch in together. So I just kind of started getting more and more into that and attending conferences and learning more and more. And then I met a young lady who was sleeping in her tent, and it's just changed my world. And I just can't, not do anything when I'm in a position now where I can. And I think back to my life when I was a young guy. I wasn't the best kid, and I could have gone a different way, but I had people there for me that kind of helped me through my tough times. And, you know, if we help a few people through their tough times, you know, they're going to be a lot better off. So it gives me a lot of drive to see people suffering when it shouldn't happen. And so that's kind of why I got into the homeless thing here. And I'm actually looking to gear myself up to it, to becoming a full-time career. You know, I'd like to change careers towards it, because it's just an amazing, the people that are involved in this helping are amazing people. So I just love to get in there somehow.
Wow. So would you be willing to move from Peace River, or would you stay there?
Well, you know, that definitely wouldn't mind moving from Peace River, because it's cold up here a lot of the time of the year. So if I had a new job and an opportunity, I would gladly move. But I do have my family here, so I'm happy right now helping out our community, because our community is a miracle as far as I'm concerned about what we're doing here right now. And
Awesome.
just that's what I kind of want to share with everybody.
Well, Mark, we sure could use you in Calgary. The homelessness here is brutal.
Well, yeah, and Calgary's got a lot of models that I actually studied from and used to help open a shelter here.
Wow, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you. What about the top 3 things that you'd like to share with us today?
All right, so 3 things that I'd like everybody to know is collaboration. One of the main things that our community did to create this miracle is we had our women's shelter organization work with the Friendship Center and Alberta Health and the RCMP and myself to open up an overnight shelter. And it's very rare for one organization to open up something and start something and to just with the purpose of handing it off to another organization. And that's what we're doing here, because one organization didn't have all the resources, all the policies in place, but the women's shelter did. And they needed this overnight no barrier shelter as well. So we all worked together as a group. We had 4 meetings and we opened up this shelter without a single cost or a dollar to the government, to the community. We spoke to a couple churches. We got in their basements, and bada bing, we had 40 volunteers signed up, and we just had an overnight place overnight. It's been amazing, but it's a challenge. And from that point on, we've now housed people that were sleeping in ATM machines and stuff like that. So there's so many little gaps. But if the groups work as one instead of individually, we close those gaps and we pool resources. And it's just, so our community has gone from people falling through so many gaps to tightening right up. It's just amazing here. And our RCMP officer, he told me in a meeting the other day that the other detachments are calling him going, "What are you guys doing at Peace River? That's working so well." He says, "Hey, we were totally against this shelter before it opened, and now we are 100% behind it, because we're working together, and it's not just one group out to get, you know, it's just amazing." So I definitely want to share that. Like, it's just the group, the only way to go.
I love it. May I ask, before you move on to your second point, you've mentioned Calgary as a model, which is great. I think we need more of it, obviously, and certainly need more collaboration. Do you know my friends Steve Allen and Franco Savoya?
No, I do not.
Okay, I'm going to make that happen. Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, and then the second thing is the stigma. That's around homelessness, myself included. I just thought, okay, we just need to bring in an addictions place here. We could solve homelessness. But through an organization out of Edmonton called the Rural Development Network, we ran an estimation of how many people were homeless in our community. And it wasn't just like a point in time count where they go to the community and they just everybody goes out there and they find everybody. This was done over a month period. And it asked some pretty in-depth questions. And it really changed my whole focus from going, everybody's just an addict, that's why they're homeless, to holy smokes, do we have a mental health problem? Because a lot of these people I talk to. And so the stigma around homeless, like when we think of homeless people, we think of the people just sitting out on the streets begging for money so they can go buy booze or anything like that. But we have a man in our community who's 65 years old, who drives around at night plugging into different spots to stay warm. Young kids everywhere, right? Like, you know, we will never see these kids, but they will struggle with homelessness for a long time, go through a lot of grief. So, we just need to start being aware of what it is. It's not just an addiction problem. There's a lot of mental health issues that are very complex. I've probably run into 100 different homeless people, and not one of them has the same problem causing their homelessness. There's so many different things. You can't just say, oh, if we do this, we're going to solve homelessness. And I was naive like that. I thought that, yeah. But so I've really changed my direction to mental health supports in our community. We have a young lady, well, not a young lady, but we have a lady that was sleeping outside in the wintertime, and I was covering her up because I always carry blankets and sleeping bags in my vehicle that tons of people will donate all the time. And she was telling me that she says, just because I have an addiction, I need to be attacked and harassed. I said, no, and she stays at our shelter every night, nice and safe every time, so that's, it's really changed how I think of these people, because they're struggling. And I used to go to shelters and visit them and think, no way am I supporting this. I'm not allowing somebody to live like this. But one day when I talked to a couple counselors outside of a shelter, I said, are you guys even making headway? Because look at this. This is horrible, right? He says, yes, you're only seeing the people coming here for help, not the ones that have got it and no longer here. And that really changed my eyes too. It's like, so if you look at a shelter, you're going to see some pretty troubled people. It's not always the same people. 75% of the people who use a shelter never go back. So, it's not always the same people. It's not always the same problem. So, yeah, it's if people can just change the way they look at people, it'd be a huge world of difference for them.
Agreed.
As well. And then the third thing, which I'm really excited to share, is we can end homelessness. I am going to see the end of homelessness. I'm positive. We are moving in the right direction. We've got some amazing organizations and people behind this now. And like, there's this amazing, Métis Housing has this amazing program running in Saskatchewan called the Family Reunification Program. And so when children get taken into care, they deal with the parents. So the children are now in the government's care. They deal with the parents, they deal with addiction issues, and then they deal with the mental health issues, and then they deal with the job skills and life skills. And it's a 2-year program. In 2 years, they have returned 300 children back to their parents, and not one of them has gone back to social services. So you think of these 300 kids that grow up through care, it's a common funnel and avenue for homelessness is kids age out of foster care and then they're on the streets. And so if we can get these back with functioning families, it's not just throwing them back with their family, it's throwing them back and guiding that family to heal and repair. And Edmonton just started that last year. So, another program. So we're just doing well. The Calgary youth programs are actually shutting down youth beds because they're dealing with it before the kids come on the street. That's the kind of stuff that we have to do. We can end homelessness with sustainable programs. We just got to be aware, follow the data, and change course when we're guided that way. So I'm pretty excited about that. I love the people I work with there, and it's if you go downtown on the streets, it looks pretty depressing, but we're making headway, and it's going to end because it's just, people think it's too expensive to repair homeless. It's too expensive to react to it.
That's right.
A hospital bed is $10,000 a month. A jail bed's $10,000 a month. Social programming is $600 a month. And it's working on focusing on getting the people better instead of just dealing with what's going on at the present time and releasing them.
Yeah, Mark, isn't it true? Everything that we need to shift on is looking at prevention versus reaction, and everything: education, financial literacy, physical health, mental health. Like, put some money and effort and support at the front end of this.
Yeah, and it just makes sense. So we see now when we've diverted a few cases because we're out there helping people. And I've had this opportunity. I was in Edmonton at an open house one day, and I ran into this guy that had Métis Housing. And I said, hey, you and I need to talk because you have empty houses in Peace River and we have homeless people. And he's like, well, so then the next thing you know, the next day I got hired by Metis Housing, and we're putting families in these houses because they needed somebody at Peace River. They just didn't have, and I said, ironically enough, I just lost that job because it went from a part-time position to a full-time, which I couldn't do right now because, it just didn't pay me enough to do that. But I am so happy to lose my job to a full-time service agent that's now here. And we have, 5 more families with 2 more to go, that houses that were just sitting empty. And they're looking at building more houses. So it's super exciting and yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Yeah.
That's obvious. I
Really
love your
yeah.
passion for this. Are you a Rotarian in Peace River?
No, actually I'm not, but I work with the Rotaract group and the Rotary. I've presented to them many times. I'm trying to get them on board because my grand plan was just to let everybody know what was happening, and hopefully somebody smarter and brighter than me would step up and cure it. So, so I'm talking to all these amazing groups and they're getting involved, and I love it. It's great. So
It's awesome. Well, Rotaries, I mean, there's 1.5 million of us in the world, and they certainly do great work everywhere. It certainly helps to be a member, though. Just want to do a little promotion there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, Mark, thank you. And what about your last and final point, the new frontier or good news story that you'd like to share?
Well, looking forward to this year, I'm just constantly educating myself, finding what's working. And now it's really exciting because I get to collaborate with other communities and help them say, this is what we did in our little community of Peace River. So we're helping out Canmore, we're helping out, Cold Lake and many other different Drayton Valley and lots of different areas. We're all working together, and it's just going great. So I'm just going to continue to work, educate myself, gain some experience so that I can move into this field, because I'm looking at jobs saying, oh, I'd love to do that. But I've just been doing this part-time for 3 years, right? So, I want to put a little bit more behind my belt. But, as I thought about this, why I put a resume together, and I thought, I'm going to start applying, because then I'll find out what I'm missing, or if I'm missing anything. It doesn't hurt. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to continue to advocate for mental health.
I am so proud to get to know you in this way. Send me your resume. We'll put it up with your bio as well, and let everybody know that you would consider a new opportunity. I'll also make some introductions too.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Things are going so well here. I'm really excited. Yeah.
I'm delighted. Well, you've left things better than when you found them, and you're an angel on the earth, Mark. To you and your family, many blessings. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much.
Marc Boychuk in Peace River. I can't even say it. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing what his next adventure looks like. Thanks again. Have a great day.